is Alma, and this is One Left Inboard. Today, we're going to talk all things meal prep and food packing for a rotation at work. I am a flight attendant for a major legacy carrier based here in the US, and I have been for 2 years. Today, I am going to talk about keeping food cold, how much to pack, and what I pack. Keeping food cold, diving right in, and very important, have the right bag. That was a lesson I embarrassingly learned very early on. I had a tote, a Travel Pro tote, that had a clear pouch in the back, and I just thought it was a waterproof section for your ice packs. The bag itself was not even insulated. She doesn't even go here. So I got the right bag. And so, of course, that helped. Flight attendants and pilots travel with different shapes and sizes of their insulated lunch bags. When I was a commuter, I was packing a little bit more. But now that I live in base, I pack a bit less. Keeping it cold, I do use ice packs, the little blue goo ones, and other variations that I've found. And I had my mind blown on two different rotations. One flight attendant was eating a meal that he brought from home. He had to pop back into the lobby and use their microwave. But when he took it out, I noticed that it was just frozen solid. And he was like, "Yes, this is how I keep it cold. It starts off frozen." And I thought, well, the rice and the chicken, what's with the texture? Is it still good? So he grabbed a spoon and had me try it once he heated it. And it was. The texture and of the rice and meat were spot on. So I learned that food freezes, thaws, and reheats, keeping and maintaining its texture quite a bit better than I thought. So that was pro tip number one for me that I learned from another flight attendant was starting those items frozen when putting in the lunch bag is a great way to keep them colder throughout my rotation. The second way I had my mind blown, a flight attendant came up front to use the ovens. She had some soup and it was just this block of ice. I don't know if you've ever gone to a pho restaurant and taken some home. Usually it's in a container that is taller than it is wide and has that little clip down lid. It's like that, but hers was glass, freezer to oven safe. And I said, "Well, how long does this take to thaw?" And she said, "Well, the bottom of day two, really, it'll still be very slushy, if not still have chunks of frozen parts." And I said, "Well, how long does it take to reheat?" And she said, about the maybe a good portion of the first half of a not so long flight. Wow, that was very specific. I think we were on a 2.5 hour flight, and she figured it would be done in about an hour. And fortunately, we had a spare oven that wasn't being used for the meal service on that flight. So that, though, before I digress, was really insightful. It's a block of ice. It's a frozen block of ice. So she said, "Yeah, it stays cold, but it also acts as an ice pack for everything else." And I said, "Oh, well, so probably will those entrees that other flight." Oh, so everything keeps itself cold and keeps everything around it cold. So completely changed the game. When I need to, though, if I come to a room, and oftentimes our rooms will not have a fridge in them, if for some reason the food hasn't been cold or I didn't pop so many frozen things into that lunch bag, if I don't have a fridge, I will ask the front desk of the hotel. They're usually very nice. They know all the plights of flight attendants and other air crew members. So they'll put the whole bag in the refrigerator of their break room. And if I do have a fridge, I'll place my items in there and ask them to just freeze solid those blue goo pouches. They tend to not have the freezer section of these mini fridges that are sometimes in hotel rooms. I don't know if you've ever had success with them. I haven't. They don't freeze anything really. So those are the ways my food stays cold. They start out frozen. And if I really need to, I will ask front desk for help. So, what am I packing? I am packing things that I will actually enjoy eating. I'm packing things that will save me from myself when I get into a layover. And all I really want is that burger and fries or Waffle House is right across the street, and I can practically taste those hash browns. I'm packing things that will save me from giving into door dashing items to my hotel in the wee hours. So, savory things, very satisfying things. I do love soup. And when I learned that little hack, I started making soups. Those are lifesavers. Sometimes I'll do like a turkey patty. Go ahead and cook that, put it on top of lentils that is on top of rice. That could be lentils that I've cooked or bought from the store. I tend to like mine a little bit better. I don't mind eating like cold poultry. I don't want it like super frozen or anything weird like that, but like chili, like deli slices or chicken and turkey meatballs, no problem eating that. So I'll make some of those. I have a little bento box and it has a very thin layer on top, and that's where I'll place cheese. Because as much as I could survive on cheese alone, I don't need all that saturated fat in my life. So I'll put cheese on top. The bottom two layers are much deeper and about the same depth as each other. And so that middle layer will have some veggies like grape tomatoes, Kalamata olives, brined pickles, radishes, etc. And then the bottom layer, just like poppable veggies that I don't even really want dressing for. And the bottom layer will be those fruits like, pears, apples, berries. I will graze on that well into day two, if not still have a very little bit left the top of go home day. So I really love that. Yogurt is fantastic for me in the morning. Counting macros, proteins important, etc. I used to separate them in servings in these little silicone containers. If you're weird about microplastics, you would love them. But it kind of was just adding to how much I was packing those individual containers. So now I just keep it in the container it was bought in. I add the berries and chia seeds, freeze it, pack it on the morning of day one. And that is a great hack for me as well. So, yogurts with berries and my little grazing charcuterie bento, um, registered trademark, um, and lentils, meats, cold meatballs, or meatballs that I'm willing to eat cold, and soups. I think sometimes I'll have little packets. Oftentimes I'll have like little cans of dolmas, excuse me, the stuffed grape leaves. I'll have little chompy sticks, and Trader Joe's has these wonderful packs of lentils that are cooked. They're pretty delicious. Wow, that sounded like a. And nobody's paying me. This is episode 4. 3 people are listening. Nobody's paying, but anyway, they do have those delicious packs. The what I call the good tuna. It's a brand that has a citrus cracked black pepper, and I will eat that and not even feel like it's a punishment. But I try to stay away from I just can't subsist on roasted nuts and jerkies. That's very, road trip food to me. So another thing that I find very helpful, little, electrolyte packets and such, little condiments. I'll have it all in a bag in case anything pops. It doesn't get all over the place. Maybe a couple cans of small cans of tomato juice. It's a lot of vitamin C, and I can kind of take it with my multivitamins and protein. I have a very like clean, no flavor, plain, etc. Protein shake, and then on top of that, I'll add collagen peptides, and I put that all together, stir it up, and I'll just chase it with a little miniature can of tomato juice. Another thing, those protein shakes, I found a container that I think it's for baby formula, and it's little serving, little like stackable things, and so I just take 2 days worth of that, and that's very nice. I also found a jar designed to sort of you flip it over, all the juice from pickles or olives goes to the bottom, and I make chopped salads. There's no leaves involved. And I didn't mean to sound so hostile against leaves, but no leaves. So it chopped salads, and they'll start to release water, and all that drains to the bottom, and the salad is like crunchy on day 3. Crazy amazing, love that. So how much of this food am I packing? As a commuter, I think I relied on those non perishable items, just getting into the crash pad. I didn't necessarily need a whole meal. And to speak to that just for a moment, I've learned that at work, this isn't a fine dining experience for me every time, right? And it doesn't have to be. So I don't eat like 3 square meals a day. I probably eat 2 larger meals and graze throughout the day, but even that, I'm not having fancy stuff, and that's okay. Excuse me, but how much am I packing? I'll take a look at my rotation. Am I being offered crew meals? How many? Is it one every day or is it multiple in the same day, etc.? And am I going to New York City? I probably will budget calories and be willing to swipe that debit card that I try not to do for pizza or maybe the hot chicken in Nashville, the beignets in New Orleans, etc. But if I'm in Pittsburgh, I'm probably going to go ahead and pack my own meal, right? So I take a look at my rotation and see where I'm going, if I'm going to try to do anything with the crew or if it's a food destination. And I make sure that I don't overpack. Um, the thing about amounts of things, again, for me personally, I don't eat 3 meals a day. I don't need 3 breakfast, dinners, lunches in between, and snacks all about in that lunch bag. So I try to make a good guess at how much food I need, and that's how much I'm packing. I'm sure I forgot a few tips and tricks that I know myself, and I'm sure there are many, many cooler things out there. I deleted social media quite some time ago, and I don't have access to all of those videos with lovely people showing you how to meal prep and pack food. But they exist, so feel free to turn to that and share anything you've learned in them in the comment section. If you are an aviation professional, pilot or flight attendant, and you would like to share anything that has revolutionized the way that you bring your food to work, keep it cold, how much you're packing and what you're packing, of course, please leave those mentions in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm Alma, and this was One Left Inboard.